Hello. This is Irene with SaugaTalk. Hello. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Irene Lyakovetsky. I'm in SaugaTalk studio speaking with fascinating people in tech. And we discuss automation, digital transformation. We discuss AI revolution we're all part of. And of course, today is no exception. Today is my esteemed guest, Sam Gupta. Sam, how are you?
I'm very good. Thank you so much for having me, Irene.
Absolutely. This is the answer I was looking for. All right. Because we are here to find out how enterprise AI is changing enterprise, is changing the world and all of us. Because the news we are reading astonishing every day. Every day. I mean, today is no exception. All right.
Yeah, yeah,
New breakthroughs, new opportunities, new challenges. All
yeah.
right. So, to me, Sam, can we start talking about how AI will change automation at enterprise, and can we go beyond simple automation with AI? I think I know the answer. The stage is yours.
Yeah, so very interesting question. And I don't know where you are going to draw the line in terms of the simple automation. I think you are referring to more of the non-AI automation versus, automation with AI. So overall, when you look at these agentic AI or AI agents, one of the fundamental shift that we all are going to notice in how we interact with any applications. So traditionally, it was very UI centric driven. If you look at any of the transactional applications, even if you look at data applications, they were very UI centric. But now what these agents can do, it's going to be a very similar experience as you are able to do on for example, ChatGPT prompt. Generally, the generative AI is very good at taking prompt, even if they are not going to be very accurate, right? So now imagine the scenario, and we are already seeing these use cases with some of the very legacy applications. And Irene, I'm pretty sure you have heard these comments that some of these transactional applications could be extremely frustrating and difficult to use just because you would require a lot of training that requires understanding of how these relational data models work, and business users don't have enough patience, attention span, I guess, to be able to learn those things. So now the whole interaction is changing, the interface is changing. Now in the background, how this all is going to be enabled is going to be a question. So that's what companies are trying to figure out at this point of time. How the admin interface is going to work, meaning, let's say if I am Microsoft or SAP or Oracle, name any company, I guess, they all are trying to figure out, okay, how I can give you admin control for you to be able to configure these agents so that you are going to get the output that you are looking for from the agents. Now the whole commercial model is going to change, the distribution model is going to change. It's early to tell at this point of time, how much changes we are going to see, whether this is going to be just more of the back end experience, or is it also going to be the real commercial experience. So rather than buying access to application etc., is this going to be more of buying agent? That's a possibility. Okay, and then there is going to be a mash of these agents as well. So you are going to see a lot more platforms. So one thing is sure, there are going to be changes. Now how those changes are going to be in the future is going to be a question, I guess, Irene.
Wow, that's a lot to absorb right from the start, Sam. I love it. I love it. This is intense conversation already. Okay, can we step back a little bit? All right, maybe not everyone is comfortable with the
Yeah,
term agentic AI yet.
yeah.
It's so fresh, it's so new, we're all learning. Okay, could you please spell in simple terms, okay, what to expect? Why enterprise AI? Why AI in tools that we're so comfortable with right now? Okay, why is it changing, and what is agentic AI in some sense?
Yeah, so the easiest way to understand agentic AI, in my mind, at least the way I have coded in my head, is that you have a sort of the agent that you have access to, just like your ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is almost like a search engine. The way ChatGPT works. Now, similarly, you are going to have more agents, they are going to be dedicated to a specific task or outcome that they are able to accomplish. They are powered by AI in the background, so you can provide any inputs as you like, but the output is not going to be, for example, let's say in chat gpt, you are simply getting the responses. These are going to be tailor made depending upon the context, depending upon the application. So I guess the easiest way to understand this is going to be, and the reason why they use the term agentic AI is because it's a very agent centric experience, right? So if you go for any sort of support, let's say if you have a question about any application, then you go to an agent, and these agent generally provide you some sort of answer, support, insight, whatever you might be looking for, and then you sort of solve the problem. Now this is going to be interaction with AI, but these are going to be agent. So the first use case that you are going to see in the market is going to be really in those customer service, customer support use cases, because the AI agents are doing I would say a better job. Because traditionally, if you look at the customer support agents, they were, let's say, trained on 1,000 scenarios. So for the most part, you are not getting the informed answers. But now with AI, you are going to get a lot more. So I think that's the reason why they use the term, agentic AI. But these are all agents. I mean, it's a very, agent centric term that they are designated for a task that they can perform for you.
Okay, that helps. That helps. Thanks so much, Sam. Yeah. So why don't we jump to economics of these things? Okay,
Yeah.
because looks like enterprises got comfortable, with certain level, certain budgets, with certain resources they
Yeah.
need, right, to implement AI initiatives. All right. How do you see this this landscape is changing, and it's very thankless way to predict anything right now. Okay, every day we discover something new, but as
Yeah.
of today, what do you see is happening?
Yeah, so that's a very interesting question. So I don't know, where companies are at this point of time. Obviously, everybody is sort of excited about it. Now, if you ask me, have they created some sort of budget? Now, budget could have two different equations. One is going to be your R&D budget. Okay, so the tech companies are obviously investing in that, and the reason for that is because they are trying to figure out how they are going to make money. Investors are going to be excited about that as well. But if you look at pure end users, okay, they might be using applications that is going to be consumable, potentially free, for example, chat gpt. But if you look at the real AI and the commercials of AI, whether they are willing to pay for it or not, it's still a question. Okay, so right now most companies, they might be excited about it, but I don't know if they are going to pay a lot. In our customer base, we have had conversations that customers are inquiring that, hey, now we want AI driven applications. So that's real, because obviously they want to know what they can do with it. But again, I don't know if they have a real budget that, okay, they they are going to spend, I don't know, maybe 100,000 or 200,000 or maybe $1 million just for AI. I don't think that's there yet.
So what do you think is going to happen in terms of intelligent decision making? Okay, because we all like to play with ChatGPT. There are a bunch of tools now built on top of ChatGPT, right?
Yeah.
There is never ending lineup of tools. We all feel overwhelmed. I am, for sure. All right, and what I'm seeing, people trying, people playing, people enjoying
Yeah.
themselves. So what about decision making? How comfortable and when we will be comfortable to really, trust the information we're getting and the decisions we're going to be making based on those inputs?
Yeah, so that's a very interesting question as well. And personally, for me, to be completely honest, when I'm interacting with AI, you still need to use your judgment. Judgment is not going to be optional with AI. So a human judgment is always going to be required, even if I don't know when it is going to surpass the intelligence from humans' perspective, but in my mind, you would always require human intelligence. So the way I see it is, it's just another tool for you uh, to be able to make decisions. You might be able to get any sort of information. So traditionally, let's say Irene, and I don't know how technical you are or your friends, let's say if they were not as technical, then you would have to rely on somebody, even if you had very modern application and their claim was that, you know what, you can get whatever data you want, but you still required some sort of training to be able to access the information, or you just didn't have access to information. Now for those users, the accessing information is going to be far easier, to be completely honest, just because they can interact in whatever mode they want, even if they are going to be imperfect with their input. They can get some sort of output from it. DeepSeek is even more interesting, because even if you're not able to communicate, it's actually going to parrot back to you that, okay, this is what I understood. Now can I go ahead and do it? So I mean, most people are very good at reading, I guess, and understanding, but they might not be as good at writing instructions or prompt or asking right questions, but they are definitely good at confirming when they are seeing something, I guess. So that's going to be a huge help overall from that AI model perspective. So to summarize on your question, how decision making is going to change, I guess it's going to be easier access to information that is going to empower people. So that's why they will probably be empowered with decisions. It's just an interaction change, I guess, in my mind.
So to me, I'm trying to figure out, I hope our audience is gonna get value out of it. Will we see enterprises actually adapting in real time to market shifts because of the new tools, because of the AI capabilities, because of the, of course, data points and abilities that we've never had before?
Yeah, they have to. And to be completely honest, I mean, it's a huge lever for a lot of enterprise software vendors as well. If you think from their perspective, traditionally they had struggled in migrating from legacy workloads, right? So now their argument is going to be, hey, if you want AI, then you have to go to the newer applications. So which means push for cloud-centric applications. That's going to be number one. And now the companies that are utilizing AI centric either platforms, applications, wherever they are going to have AI, in general, their lead times are probably going to increase. Not increase, I mean, reduce, from the lead time perspective, right? And people, if they are not familiar with lead time, this is going to be your transaction lead time. So, for example, let's say if you get one sort of order, whatever order you might be getting, lead. I don't care which business you are accepting some sort of lead, you are accepting some sort of order, and then you have to process that and deliver something, whether you are delivering product or service. So if you are going to use AI, the time to respond to your customer is going to be faster, which means superior customer experience, and then cheaper as well, I guess, from your competitors. So if you are not going to be using AI, then your competitors are going to be ahead and you are most likely going to lose in that game. So that's why I strongly believe that companies are definitely going to use or thinking about AI in some shape or form.
This is all in the future. This is very aspiring and inspiring conversation we're having here, Sam. At the same time, let's turn to uncomfortable realities. All right.
Yeah.
So to me, it's those most dangerous blind spots, okay, that businesses will have to keep in mind while implementing AI. So any kind of areas they should, any advice on the areas they should focus on, because of course, with great responsibilities come real dangers.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and we don't know at this point of time how dangerous it is going to get, to be completely honest, because right now we just don't have as much regulations. Yes, they are probably going to change. The governments are going to be careful as well, but unless they have some sort of case where they can analyze and implement these regulations, it's still going to be very loose in terms of however you want to use. But for the most part, when you look at I mean, AI is probably going to be a black box for a lot of people, right? Even for people who are going to be super technical, I don't know if they are going to have as much insight into the AI black box. So I don't know what you can do at this point of time other than trusting your enterprise software vendors. If you are baking AI for yourself, then it's a different ball game. I don't know why you would do that. Most likely, you are probably going to buy some sort of AI from your enterprise software vendors. But in the future, I guess, what we are going to notice and see is that there will be some sort of auditability of AI as well. So hopefully that can provide you enough insights in terms of how these decisions are being made, how your data is being consumed. But right now, I don't know what you can do, to be completely honest. If you are super scared, then you are probably going to stay away from AI. But other than that, I don't know what else you can do there.
That brings my next question. Okay. We talk a lot about AI democratization.
Yeah.
Okay. At every level, smaller businesses, mid size, large enterprises. And how do you think the concentration of power in one hand or in a group of people, right,
Yeah.
who control the data? Okay. How will it affect, the larger operations at the same time society?
Yeah, so very interesting. So let me probably ask some clarifying questions here on that. And when you talk about democratization, are you talking about inside the organization, or are you talking about countries, or is it inside the enterprise?
Yeah, let's focus on enterprise. Yes, of course, because tools becoming more and more available. Okay, but
Yeah.
those tools, again, they're as effective as we know as the access to the data. All right. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's a very interesting question as well. And again, I think it's very early to forecast at this point of time. For the most part, the AI models that you are going to buy as the end user, they are going to have their own sort of data and model that they are going to be trained on. So I don't know how much data they are going to require from the internal perspective. There might be some models that might utilize your internal data as well. But again, that's slightly early to predict at this point of time. So my assumption in this, and we are all forecasting, nobody knows how this is all gonna shape up. But if you really think about it, most of the AI agents, what they are able to do is they are able to access data from many different data storages. So I think the question about centralizing data may not be as relevant overall from the insight extraction perspective. Your transactional systems are still going to remain as is. The ones that are going to have some sort of transactional processing power, such as your CRM, ERP, etc. But for the most part, if you look at the whole insight extraction layer, that's where you are going to see a lot more changes. Some people are arguing that, hey, this is all, the transactional applications are all going to become black box, because you will only be interacting with these prompts. So even if you want to capture a lead, capture sales order, capture some sort of project, you are simply going to prompt, and then something is happening in the background, so you sort of don't know. So I think what AI can do is AI can access a lot more data storages. So I don't think the centralizing of data is going to be as relevant. But again, I think it's early to predict at this point of time how the whole architecture is going to work in the future.
Exactly. I'm not asking my guests to predict anything. Okay. About 4 years ago, it was a good question just to kind of let our imagination go. But at this point, I stopped doing that because, the reality precedes all the imaginary thoughts and ideas. So, and that's incredible. Sam, why don't we turn the conversation into how do you think people adjusting? I read fantastic article in terms of how many not approved tools people bring to work,
Yeah.
AI tools. All
Yeah.
right. And of course, every organization is trying to figure out what's our policy, what our strategy, right?
Yeah.
What's the approved and trusted set of tools.
Yeah.
And yet up to 50% of employees bring something on their phones, on their computers that they find very useful. Where that is gonna go, you think?
Yeah, so that's a very interesting question as well. And in my mind, and based on my experience with these things, it's always going to be a very political argument, right? You can have these centralized controls, you can have IT, but then most people end up hating them because they don't want too much control, in terms of the access, especially if they feel that the tool does not require any sort of control, approval, etc. So they are probably just going to buy on their own. So I don't know how you can control that. That's only going to increase, because what AI is going to do is AI is going to change the whole interaction model, and your backend is going to be the black box. So for the most part right now, if it is 57%, then that's probably going to be 80% in terms of buying cycle. In my mind, when I look at how this is going to go in the future, AI is going to make it easier for people to procure technology, and that comes with some sacrifices that you are not going to have as much control, I guess, from the centralization perspective. So that would be my take on that.
Absolutely. So, still in the reality kind of lens, all right? So, do you think AI will be soon replacing all the ERP consultants, CRM consultants, marketing consultants, procurement consultants, all the business functions that actually people build the entire career around?
There are definitely going to be changes, I would say. I don't know if it is going to be a complete wipeout or replacement. But what is going to happen is now you would require different skill sets. So there's going to be a lot of retraining and repicking on the skill set. AI is going to require very different strategy from the business perspective. So anybody who was more in the strategy roles, they would still be relevant, I would say. It's just different skill set. The people who were into slightly more technical roles, even they are going to be relevant. They will be doing, I guess, AI debugging. In terms of it's going to be a shift, I would say, in terms of the skill set. It's not going to be complete replacement. If you look at ERP, CRM, and you mentioned procurement as well, right? 90% of those skill sets in my mind are still going to be relevant. The only ones that might get completely replaced are going to be pure admin. If AI is able to do better job, they are far more reliable. So any commoditized jobs are going to be on the verge of disruption. But I would think that they all are going to pick up the skill set. Everybody who wants job, they are going to learn new skills. They will have new jobs, I guess. So it's just a change the way the technology adoption works. So I don't see any issues overall for people. It's just that they just need to work harder, because you are not only competing with AI, but you are also competing with people who are using AI, and they are going to be far more productive than anybody who's not using AI.
True, true. And that applies to leaders itself, with themselves, right? In a way that how those leadership roles changing now, because not long ago you could be a great leader with experience, okay, with maybe decades
Yeah.
behind your behind your belt, and at the same time right now, if you're not current on the latest technology development, even if you're not a technologist at all, right, you're missing out. So that fear of missing out in leadership, Sam, right, could you
Yes.
comment what to expect and how to hopefully overcome those challenges?
Yeah, so I guess in my mind, at least, when you look at the leadership changes, I guess leadership is going to be far more informed, because now access to information is going to be easier for them. Traditionally, I think because of the skill set, it was slightly more challenging for them. So now you are going to have very informed arguments, just because people are going to have a lot more access to data, because they can get that easily. So I think overall it's going to be better for everybody, in terms of the skill set, in terms of the quality of decisions, everybody is going to make. But what is going to be harder is the whole implementation process, because when you make any technology complex, in general, it's going to be much harder to adopt, at least from the context perspective, when you look at your processes, when you look at your data. So now you are going to see a lot more failure rate, even though the technology is easier. So that could be a drawback. But overall, I guess, it's going to help everybody. Leadership is going to see tons of improvement, just because of access to information.
Absolutely. And I cannot not pay attention to your back, Sam. You are a CEO at
Please talk to
Elevat.
us.
What do you do day
Uh,
to day?
Yeah, so ElevatIQ is in the market. We are positioned as more of the analyst and advisory firm. So we have two different, customer personas, I guess, from our perspective. So one is going to be end users. And these are going to be the companies that are procuring any sort of technology. So they come to us for any technology advisory, which is going to be, hey, I have heard about these technologies, ERP, CRM, AI. I just don't know how to adopt, how to implement them. So we help them with the entire strategy from the business process perspective, any sort of change management that they are going to require, and then technology selection, contract negotiation. So we help them from the advisory perspective on that. And then we have the other side of the business, which is going to be slightly more media content, research, and that's where I think your community is product management. So we work with product managers, as well as in analyst relations. So with them, we are helping with any sort of content offering. They care for the independent vendor agnostic perspective as much as the customers do, because they want feedback. So they hire us in getting the feedback on the product, what is working on the market. They ask us to forecast some of these trends. If they are not sure how to capitalize on AI, which are the use cases that they should be focusing on, maybe build a business case for them as well. So that is the another side of the business that we have from the ElevatIQ perspective, Irene.
Very interesting. Yeah. Could you bring up maybe 3 top trends, okay? 3 top most occurring requests or questions, okay, that your firm receives in terms of, how to shape up the strategies and how to execute them?
Yeah, so 3 top requests. As I mentioned, number one is going to be from the end user perspective. So they are fascinated by technology, and they are not able to sort of build consensus among them in terms of how to execute that. So that's going to be number one. Number two is that they have tried to utilize all of this, but somehow they are just not getting their business questions answered. So they are not sure what's going on. So they hire us. Okay, tell us what's going on. I mean, we have worked with 5 companies, but we are just not getting the enough business value. That could be a second scenario. The third scenario could be more from the enterprise software perspective. Their GTM strategy, they just don't have the blind spot in a particular market, and they are trying to penetrate. They are trying to, get certification. We have product certifications as well that we provide to enterprise software vendors, and this is going to be very similar to what we would do for the customers. So they can work with us in getting those certifications. So that's going to be another request that we have more from the go-to-market strategy perspective, that we help either product managers or the analyst relations folks.
Fantastic. I want to encourage everyone to follow Sam and to follow ElevatIQ on LinkedIn. I'm a huge fan, so we add links to these videos because I want people to know about your capabilities and the help they can get over here. So absolutely. So contact me, contact Sam with questions if you're interested to get help in those absolutely critical areas of the business. Sam, time is flying. All right. I could go on and on. This is a fascinating conversation. Of course, we're just unwrapping what comes next. So please come back to SaugaTalks with updates, with the new observations, with new experiences. Okay. In conclusion, could you please wrap up the conversation we had in maybe simple takeaways to remember this conversation by?
Yeah. So my takeaway for people is going to be that don't be afraid of AI. AI could be scary, but there are going to be massive changes to your business model. So don't miss the bus. It's not just hype. There is a real value of AI. So try to understand how you might be able to incorporate and in your business model. And if you're not sure, maybe work with experts, who are noticing these business trends on a daily basis, because there are going to be changes to your business model. So get ready for it.
Thank you, Sam, so very much for your time, for your expertise, and for sharing the knowledge. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, big fan of your show, Irene. Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate it. Thanks.